everyone, and welcome to the Tamale Maker's Daughter podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Schimmel. I bring you this podcast to talk about my experiences as an undocumented immigrant living in America. I also talk about other topics such as pop culture, self-love, up-and-coming artists, and anything else that comes to my mind. If you want to hear more, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Thanks! Hey everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Tamale Maker's Daughter podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Schimmel. And on this very first episode, I wanted to talk about why I decided to start this podcast, what DACA means, and how it has affected me throughout the past 10 years. So some people have asked me, well, why are you starting this podcast and why now? What's it going to be about? Well, now I have some free time. Recently, I quit my full-time job to switch careers over to being an artist full-time. My passion is illustration. That's where my heart is. But in this free time, I felt it would be cool to just start a podcast and just see where it takes me. It's been on my to-do list for a little bit now, so we'll see where it goes. So one of my main reasons why I'm starting this podcast is to just talk about some topics that I've been very passionate about. But I also want to talk about some not so serious things too. In this episode, we're talking about DACA. Now is a great time because we're approaching its 10-year anniversary, and I'm just like, holy crap, I can't believe it's been 10 years since this whole thing has been introduced. DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and it's defined as an administrative relief from deportation and a work permit. So that's basically what I have. I'm not 100% a citizen at all, not at all. So I've been living in the United States since I was 1 year old, and I've never visited Mexico. So when DACA was introduced back in 2012, my life changed exponentially. I'll talk a little bit about how I actually found out that I was undocumented. I didn't really even know that I was undocumented until I was in high school. I was a senior in high school, and I had this arts college that I really wanted to go to, and I had set my eyes on it for a year or two. So I just tried to keep good grades, and I was just, doing everything that I could to just keep everything consistent, leading up to that point, so that way I could get into college. And so that was my dream. That was a huge dream of mine because, I was a weird kid. I loved going to school for some reason. All that being said, when I wanted to get into this college, and they had given me a scholarship to get into the college, so I went ahead and I asked my mom and dad for my social security because a lot of private colleges and most big league colleges or whatever, they require you to give them your social security number to get in and stuff. And a lot of things here just require you to have that, to build your credit score, to rent a car, all these things. You need a social security number. So I asked my parents, I'm just like, hey, mom and dad, I need my social security number. Where is it? I want to get into this college. And they go, yeah, you see about that, what happened was that, that whole thing. So I was just like, what do you mean? And they're like, you don't have one. And I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean you don't have my social security? What are you talking about? And so they just kind of went ahead and told me everything, that I was undocumented. I was not, in fact, a citizen, and my life kind of just stopped a bit. I was in shock, and I was just like, how could it be that I was living for so long, all these years, and I just didn't know that I was not a citizen? But I guess it sort of made sense because a lot of all these adult decisions, my parents took care of all of that. As a kid, you don't really need to really be like in the know entirely about all of that. But I did let them know, it would have been great to have known this kind of information like years ago. So that way I would, just rip the freaking Band-Aid off. After all that happened, after all I found out, I got into a state of shock and I got into depression, and it lasted actually for years, because I had carved this path in my mind. I was just like, this and this and this. I was gonna do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of that. And that's also the younger part of me being naive and dumb. That you could have all these things planned out, but at the end of the day, you kind of have to be ready to be like, like Bruce Lee says, kind of like water. You gotta adapt. And back in the day, I was just really set in my ways, and I was just like, no, I have to go to a big prestigious college or an arts college, and because that's where I'll get the education that I really want and stuff like that. And it's just definitely not true. So then 2012, June 2012 to be exact, DACA was introduced, and I was over the moon. I was stoked, and I couldn't believe that there could be an opportunity for me to actually just have something, because before then I felt really invisible, like I wasn't even there. And so once this DACA was introduced, I was like, let me get the paperwork, like I had to dig through like a bunch of stuff to try and find evidence about me living in the United States during the designated time that the government had said I should have been here, and so I was just like trying to get everything, and my parents were like searching everywhere, like getting records from their landlords and all that stuff. And it was crazy, how much we had to dig, but we did it. And I got DACA granted. And mind you, DACA, it has really strict criteria. Like you basically, you have to have like a really clean record. And at the time, I believe it was, you had to be enrolled in a college and basically be interested in continuing your education. And so after that, after it was granted, I felt like everything was gonna get better, because before that, I wasn't able to get a car. The first time I got my license was, I was 25. So, talk about a late bloomer, So all these things that all of my friends had already, experienced in high school, they had, like their cars, their credit scores probably getting, all good and stuff like that. Like 25 was just the beginning of everything to me. And before then, I was just like stuck at jobs that I hated. I was in the restaurant industry for a while, but not really by choice. So after DACA, a lot of job opportunities where I thought I would fit the best just started to really like open up, and I was able to just apply to a job that I wanted to. And I was able to drop all the 3 other, jobs that I had to take up to make ends meet, in order to get that new job. But that being said, I don't think that DACA is 100% awesome, because to me, at this point, especially after 10 years, it's kind of like a purgatory in a way. It's like a limbo space, where I just don't know where I'll be going. There, even though the DACA says, it prevents deportation, there is that still looming fear of being deported if it doesn't continue. Like if they say, oh, it stops today, then it's just like I'm back to square one. And that's freaking scary. And it's been scary for people that I've seen that just don't even have the option to even get DACA at all. Because, like I said, the criteria and their limits. So for people who don't even qualify for DACA, like they're out there working hard and they're good people, they can't get a pathway to citizenship because, of old school mentality, like it's ridiculous. There needs to be more done with this DACA stuff, because at this point I feel like it's more of a subscription to America rather like than anything else. It's because to get DACA you have to renew it every 2 years, and every 2 years we pay $495 out of pocket just to stay here and just to work. So it's like I'm paying to work, and we are paying our taxes too. So yeah, it's a lot more has got to be done about it. We'll see what happens with it. I think that the people that started this movement, like I thank them a lot. I think that we should continue that conversation and should continue to just push and try to get better immigration reform, and just try to get the DREAM Act or something way better to happen. Basically a better path towards citizenship, because I don't want to have that other path that a lot of people talk about, where you have to get married in order to get citizenship. Like that's just, I'm not for that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do want to get married at some point, but not for that specific reason. It won't be for that specific reason. There's got to be better options to just be able to call this place home officially, without the fear of one day, it's going to be shut down and it's going to be back to how it was before. I'm just thinking like, I'll just continue doing what I'm doing. I'm going to continue trying, and I'm going to keep pushing through. Like my mom always used to say, like, Ponte Las Pilas, which is basically an expression meaning to work hard. And I'll just keep doing that until there's a way to get citizenship the right way. But you know what? I think in that expression, there comes this like fine print where it's just like, but know when you have to take a break. Like in my experience, at least in like my household, I've always felt like the working 100% of the time has always been like very glorified, and it's tasking, because at the end of the day, while you're working very hard and stuff like that, you are physically tired, but also you're like mentally tired. So I think it's just like, I need to remember that I need to know when to take breaks and when to not burn myself out just because I'm a first-gen immigrant. Doesn't mean that I have to work myself to the bone. I'm tired of just pretending that it's okay to be tired all the time, but that's the grind. Like, that's not it at all for me. I'm tired of having to ponerme las pilas like all the time because you know what? Like sometimes the pilas, like the batteries, run out. I'm gonna make sure to recharge my pilas or my batteries because what good am I if I'm not 100% there, and I'm just all exhausted and just a grumpy person to everybody, That's me. That's my little story. And thank y'all for your time. And I hope to catch you on the flip side. Bye.